I'm Judd, this is Steve. We've been spending a bunch of months here breaking rules and equipment, trying to see how we could make mobile tools fit into the news gathering process. So we're all on the same page. We wanted to start with just a couple-minute video that was done entirely, the entire workflow was done on mobile devices. See if we can actually
Spring is foaling season at Budweiser's Warm Springs Ranch, when Clydesdale mares finish their nearly one-year pregnancies and give birth to a new generation of some of the world's most recognizable horses.
This is our busy time of year. We have babies, that's what we do. One baby on the 15th, one baby on the 16th, one baby on the 17th, and quite possibly could have a baby on the 18th.
Predicting exactly when those babies will come is an inexact science. So the pregnant mares wear alarms. When they go into labor, the alarms automatically dial Soto's cell phone. That's what happened the last two nights. Soto and his crew had finished with one middle-of-the-night birth and worked a full day afterward.
Yeah, I was right in the shower. I'm going to take a quick shower because we knew we might have another baby. And I was just soaked, and my phone rang, which tells me that I've got a baby coming, and boy, that was the fastest trying to get out of there and get all. One of the first times one of the other guys that comes in right behind me normally, he actually beat me here, but I was scampering to get down to the barn.
Soto arrived and saw a mare in labor.
You can't just let mom just do all the work, you know, you're there, you might as well help her out a little bit.
And out came this little guy, a perfect young colt. Less than 16 hours later, another colt. All three mares and their colts are in perfect health. Just a few days after they're born, they get to go out for their first walk with their mothers. Judd Slivka, Boonville, Missouri.
So today we're going to talk about just where we are, where we're going in mobile journalism, and let me caveat this with mobile is just a shorthand word. It really is the use of mobile tools for gathering, because as you'll see, there's some definite trade-offs here that make things less mobile. So I guess we'll start with where are we, just as an overview moment here.
So traditionally, newspapers have used their DSLRs in order to do video. Television stations, however, have larger cameras, and now we're making switches to something that's more mobile. When I worked in Minneapolis, whether it was NPR or TV stations, they were all using their cell phones to transmit stuff for their website. It's gotten to the point where the cost of doing mobile, even with added features, preamps, it's gotten so much better, and so it's less expensive and very doable. And as you could see from Judd's piece, you can do some pretty high quality work. So if you look at the mobile kit that we've put together, an iPad mini, videographer mount, which is what holds the mini, we'll show you that in a second, a tripod, wireless mic, lens kit, a preamp, apps, really inexpensive, but have some limitations. We'll talk about that in a second. And the total cost is about $1,300, which is affordable for most news organizations. Newspapers seem to be struggling a little more with any kind of expense, but other organizations have kind of made it work.
So the other thing that we're seeing right now is that the marketplace is providing a lot of incentives for app development. There's about 300 photo and video apps in the Apple Store right now. It's about a comparable number in the Android Store. Reason we don't talk as much about Android is that the strength of Android is open source. It's also its greatest weakness in terms of developers wanting to do high-end development because they have to create 3 or 4 different flavors. So anyway, we have about 300 photo video apps, and these run from sort of the higher end apps that we can do extensive photo editing on to something where we can put frames around pictures with ponies and stars. Those seem to be very popular. Flurry Analytics last year did a study. They found that users were spending 89% more time in photo and video apps than they had been in the year before. So there's clearly an incentive to develop these. Most of these apps have in-app purchases in them. So there's a chance to really make more money out of the app than you'd thought. So now we're at the point where we're beginning to see translation, where apps that may have been used for one thing are being used for another completely, and that's where we move into mobile news gathering. We're seeing these 3 developing models of this mobile tool gathered journalism. The first is the one that you're most familiar with. This is riot footage that's uploaded from Syria or from the Ukraine. It's gatekeeper-less journalism. It is, here's what's happened. It doesn't hew to any sort of traditional production quality. It goes up to a server, and then it's distributed. It's picked up by CNN. It's picked up by Fox or wherever. The next model that we see is a mobile gather, traditional editor ingest process. I'm going to go out with my phone or my iPad. I'm going to capture images. I'm going to capture sound. Then I'm going to come back to my laptop or my office. I'm going to bring it into my inline editing system, like Avid Console, Final Cut Pro, Adobe Premiere, and I'm going to edit it and then move it smoothly into my outlet's content management system. The third area is probably, I think, the next wave of what we're seeing in terms of mobile gathering journalism. That's a mobile gather, mobile edit. And that's what we did out in the field on that horse piece. And my pants still smell from the horses, by the way. The smell never gets out. Is that we go out, we use a mobile gathering platform, either a phone or an iPad. We move our content after we've gathered it. On the iPad itself, we edit it on the iPad. I have to use the iPad rather than the iPhone because I have fat Slavic fingers. And then we move it into the CMS from there. We can move it into any number of different places. That's, I think, where the next wave is likely going to be, the ability to create media from out in the field on the same device. Steve?
All right, pressure points. The problem with the iPhone, how many people have tried to do something where it's very dark using either their smartphone or their iPhone? Both ends of the spectrum are difficult. If you look at Judd's piece, he had the perfect National Geographic golden moment light, and it all worked. But the iPhone, mini, iPad, actually iPad is worse than the phone in terms of those don't work as well in terms of recording video. Even with all the accessories, the traditional media far exceeds the quality of anything that you can put out with mobile. What it loses is that ability to be immediate and that ability to do it there in a single device. If you're using a Mark III, you're not going to be able to do the same things that you can do with your iPad mini. Unfortunately, there is an expectation, I think as much due to YouTube is, we can hand you a camera, you can do video, we'll put it up, everyone will watch it, our numbers will go up, and the world will be a better place for us all to live. Unfortunately, it's 100 hits, and after about 2 weeks of this, people begin to realize that inferior quality video is not going to be viewed as much unless it's something that's kind of funny. So it's really important that you understand those limitations and then use them to your advantage in terms of how you plan and what you do. When you start adding lighting, you add expenses. But it doesn't mean you can't do it and shouldn't do it because it's a terrific way to get stuff out quickly.
So when we talk about mobile gathering, we're talking about the trade-offs that we make. And the first one that we make is flexibility versus depth. Lots of apps out there, lots of opportunity to do stuff. They all do one thing very well and not a lot of things really well or well at all. So if I want to go and shoot sports, using my iPhone is not a great idea because I can't change my settings to make it stop action. In fact, if I use the best burst camera app out there, it takes the effective megapixel number down from 8 megapixels down to less than a single megapixel per frame. It ruins the ability to do stop motion. Cost versus quality, easy to get into. Very narrow performance range, as Steve alluded to. It's great if it's not too dark. It's great if it's not too light. And then we have what I can do versus what I should do. It's very cool to go out and do stuff on your phone, although you kind of have to deal with the freak factor of people coming up to you and saying, hey, are you doing this on an iPhone? Well, can I see? And then they pick up the camera and hold it up to themselves. True story. And so we know that we can do things on mobile, but we shouldn't always. And this goes back to this idea of expectations. There's a feel, particularly among content managers, that content production should be agnostic. A video is a video is a video. But a video that is shot on a Sony EX9 under some circumstances will be very, very different from a video that's shot on an iPhone 5S. It's the nature of the beast. And so there's always that trade-off of I could do this and go out and get something, or am I better off using a different tool?
So what are the trade-offs? Quickly, they are, as he talked about, one kind of ability of the app to do one thing. They can't do multiple things well, so you need a combination of those things. Early adopters, there's some expectation that all of this is going to solve their problems. It doesn't do that. So as we have discovered from the classes that we've been teaching, we have a class with 15 students. They've been testing basically a lot of this software, and there's been some huge problems. Judd's phoning them about every day, talking about things that they've found, crashes that have happened. Suddenly things have changed, frame rates. All of those things are a problem with early adopters and adapters. And it's something that we need to really be thinking about in terms of how we go out into the field with these different apps and equipment.
So if we want to add quality, we need to add stuff. This is a mobile kit. That top is RTE, which is Ireland's national TV carrier. That's what they carry. You can see there's a preamp, there's a couple different mics, 3 different mics, there's aluminum frame for the phone, there's a tripod. This is me trying to be dashing over here when we were filming that piece, and you can see that I have a phone, I have a preamp, and I have a tripod. It's not very mobile. On the other hand, my shots are very, very stable, and my sound is very, very good. But it's not quite the image that we have of picking up the phone and going out and getting this great quality stuff using only our phone. And that's really the conundrum that we deal with. So we have some solutions here. We'll sort of run through them quickly. And they're all based around this idea that if we look at this as a DSLR replacement or as a video camera replacement, we're bound to fail. And so we have to embrace not the depth, but the flexibility. So this is ThingLink here. ThingLink lets us create very, very rich media from the field. What it is interactive photos. These were shot at the Neosho National Fish Hatchery, by the way, 250,000 fish surrounding you, down in southwest Missouri. What it allows us to do is it allows us to embed text, photos, and video into the piece. And we can produce this from the field. This took about 5 minutes. There's some video down there that I shot. There's a photo that I shot. Rainbow trout, by the way. Looks like it's going to be a good season. This is what, when we talk about embracing flexibility, we should be doing. 360 panorama. It's just a panoramic photo app. Costs about $4. Think about this use case if you were sent to cover a tornado and you wanted to show the destruction field. Instead of having to do 8 or 9 different shots and stitch them together in Photoshop for $4.99, it does it for you on your phone. It's easily embeddable. It's frictionless. Lets you share very, very easily. This is stellar. This came out a couple weeks ago. This lets you do on your phone and for your phone only. It's mobily responsive, mobily formatted. create multimedia stories very easily. Storehouse does the same thing. It uses parallax for you JavaScript nerds to create finished formatted pieces on an iPad. Again, very, very shareable, very, very easy. So the benefit to using mobile is that we can create finished pieces from the field and eliminate that middleman in the office, even though the pieces aren't necessarily what we think they might be. Question we always get here with our last 2 minutes remaining is, what apps do we use? This is our list of apps. For shooting, we use Filmic Pro, which I highly recommend. We edited all of that with Pinnacle Studio. We used Giffer Pro to make GIFs when we feel like doing fun stuff. Audio is exceptionally well adapted for the iPad and for the iPhone. Voice Recorder Pro, Twisted Wave, and Vadio really give us sort of the best place to go. You can read the rest of this, and we'll certainly have some more stuff. The videographer frame, which is the mount that allows you to hold a frame, that's under Gear. That's what we used, and there's just some wireless mics and a preamp. We have, a minute 18 for questions, so we timed that well.
You notice we sped up a little at the end.
And the other thing to note is that Steve and Judd will also be part of our exchange tomorrow at noon. They will have a booth, as it were, set up to talk with you about specific applications that you might be able to use or gathering information. Tom, you have a quick one?
Yeah. Are you envisioning these to be played on mobile versus played on a television or whatever?
Or web?
Yeah.
I think we envision them where they can be both. If you look at something like a Storehouse or Stellar apps, which are designed to be in that mobile experience, then it can go there, creating an individual or a different sort of feel of a product. When we did that piece, we did it as a TV news piece. It's shot at 1080p. It's shot at 24 frames per second. It's an industry standard. It could go on TV. I mean, you'd like better editing and a more handsome narrator for it.
So let me quickly explain that 2150 is a core class for journalism here. And all of the students who have been working on this mobile software, most of them have experience probably with a smartphone, but absolutely no experience in terms of doing journalism on their phone. So they've been a really good kind of petri dish of test subjects in terms of taking all of this and how do you take someone with limited knowledge. Most of them come in pretty familiar with their phone and Candy Crush, but that's as far as it goes. I can tell you from both of my daughters. So, Judd, the program, we've used traditional. This is the first semester we've switched to mobile. So it's been a really good experiment, and we've learned a lot of things about how to make this an effective tool.
All right, very good. Steve, Judd, thank you so much.